It's time now for a business update with Stephen Carroll. Stephen, we're going to start with Ryanair, which lost a legal challenge to the rescue money, given to other airlines.
Yeah, that's right. The low-cost carrier, excuse me, we're both at it now. The low-cost carrier had been challenging state aid that was given to rivals Air France and SAS last year. The General Court of the European Union has ruled that the use of government money was legal under EU rules. The ruling said tax breaks given to Air France were appropriate for making good the economic damage caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Ryanair has filed 16 lawsuits over bailouts given to airlines across the EU, which were approved by the European Commission. The Irish company says it'll be appealing this latest court decision.
Next now to a big change for the car maker Ford in Europe.
Ford is to spend $1 billion on switching to all-electric models for its passenger vehicles sold in Europe. The money will go towards upgrading its factory in the German city of Cologne. The company says that by 2026, all of its cars will be either hybrid or electric, moving to fully electric by 2030. Car makers in Europe have been ramping up their production of low-emission vehicles to meet new EU industry standards.
All today on France 24, we've been marking a decade since the start of the uprising in Libya. And Stephen, you've been looking at the effects on the economy.
Libya has the biggest oil reserves in Africa. It represented in normal times 97% of the country's exports. But 10 years of conflict has, of course, badly affected the country's economy. And the rival governments there haven't helped managing that. That presents, of course, many hurdles for those who are trying to start or run a business in Libya today, as Yinka Oyatade now reports.
After 10 years of conflict in Libya, finding a place to work can be a challenge. Co-working spaces like this are a haven for entrepreneurs.
المكان very safe. ما فيش فيه أي مشكلة.
I found a good atmosphere to bring the people that I want to work with me in my project.
In a country that regularly falls victim to blackouts and internet outages, places like this can be the only option for those needing to connect.
There is, of course, high speed and stable internet. It's essential to have electricity, so we have our own generator. When there's an internet outage, when we don't have electricity, we thought about solar panels as well as inverters.
Libya's economy has been left in tatters by the ongoing civil conflict. An estimated 33% of Libyans live at or below the poverty line. The theft of copper from power lines causes regular blackouts. An outbreak of violence in Tripoli 2 years ago left this business in limbo.
In the first quarter of the war, sometimes we closed and sometimes we were open. We didn't know when those random bombings would happen.
Before the conflict, Libya was a relatively wealthy country with the largest oil reserves in Africa. They represent 60% of the country's economy. But the pandemic hit oil prices hard. As a result, Libya suffered its worst economic slump since the uprising in 2011. The World Bank estimates that its GDP dropped by 41% in 2020.
Let's take a look at what's happening on the markets next for you. In Europe this lunchtime, the Frankfurt DAX is in the red. London and Paris's main markets trading pretty flat, though. Shares in the luxury group Kering, which owns brands including Gucci and Balenciaga, they're down over 7% after the company's latest results. Full-year revenues at Kering were down by almost 18% last year. Now, we're also keeping an eye on the price of Bitcoin today. It's continuing to gain after surpassing the $51,000 mark earlier. This is the latest price from the website CoinDesk. You can see up 4.5% over the last 24 hours.
Next now, the maker of the video game Fortnite has begun a new legal battle against Apple.
Epic Games has lodged a complaint with the European Union over its dispute with the iPhone maker. Apple removed Fortnite from its App Store last year after Epic tried to get around the 30% commission that Apple takes on in-app payments. The game maker is calling for fairer competition on Apple's systems. The tech giant says it applies the same rules to all developers and that Epic had broken them. Fortnite's creator has already taken legal action against the company in the United States.
All right, let's stay in the U.S. now. And McDonald's is being sued for racial discrimination by one of its franchise owners.
By a man called Herb Washington. He says the company has denied black franchise owners the same opportunities as white owners, pushing them towards locations in poorer areas. He says this is driving away black franchise owners from the brand. The company has denied the allegations, saying Mr. Washington has mismanaged his business.
Herb Washington was once McDonald's largest black franchise owner in the United States. Now he's suing the fast food giants for racial discrimination, claiming the company pushes owners like him to poorer areas where they make less profits. The allegations follow a rapid fall in the number of black franchisees.
We had close to 400 McDonald's owner-operators at one point. Today we have about 186, 187. The cash flow differential in different parts of the state can be hundreds of thousands of dollars per store, less than their white counterparts.
Herb Washington once owned an empire of 27 McDonald's restaurants. Today he has just 14. He says he was pressured to sell several of his stores to white owners, letting go of 7 restaurants in the last 3 years alone. McDonald's denies the allegations. They argue that Washington is wholly responsible for his decline.
This situation is the result of years of mismanagement by Mr. Washington, whose organisation has failed to meet many of our standards on people, operations, guest satisfaction and reinvestment.
The fast food giant says they've invested significantly in Washington's stores, but the 69-year-old disagrees. He argues the company's help has done little to narrow the gap between his earnings and those of his white counterparts. Washington isn't alone in his claims. This lawsuit comes just months after 52 other black McDonald's owners took the fast food giant to court over the same issue.
Stephen, we're going to wrap up now with the story of a very expensive mistake by one American bank.
Citigroup has been told that it can't get back some $500 million that it accidentally paid to investment firms last August. Now, the bank was meant to pay around $8 million in loan interest owed to various recipients on behalf of its client Revlon. But instead, it wired a total of $900 million, which was the total amount of the loan. It tried to recover the money, but a group of investment firms refused to return that $500 million figure. Citi sued to get their money, but a court in New York has ruled the funds can keep it, as it was made in payment against a valid debt.
That's a lot of money.
Sure is. That is someone feeling very ashamed of what happened.
All right, maybe he could use this, Stephen. How does watching a bunch of kids studying sound to you?
Boring?
Actually, it's the latest craze in regard to relaxation. We'll give you all the details in the press review that's coming up after the news. Stay with us.